and have something kind of fun with Vanessa and I for a conversation. Welcome, everyone. So we're going to be talking with fear, about fear rather, self-sabotage, what holds us back, and what causes us to step back in the things we desire. So we have Vanessa Bell as well here with me. Good afternoon, in fact.
Good afternoon.
So, okay, self-sabotage. Let's chat about this, and let's talk about this. I know we were talking about this. We thought we'd have a great conversation, which spawned from our last conversation on success, getting ahead in work, getting into life, and how self-sabotage. And for those people that say, "Oh, I never sabotage myself," with love, get out of your head. We all do it, right? We all do it. And with respect and with love, I say this, we all self-sabotage ourselves. We procrastinate. That is self-sabotage. We wait. We take forever to do something. We distract ourselves. That's unconscious self-sabotage. You're not doing it intentionally. I get it. However, that falls in the realm of self-sabotage. It's anything that you're doing something that you don't want to do, and you're not doing something that you do want to do. So Vanessa, let's tell us maybe some about your experiences, your thoughts around self-sabotage. Let's start off with you, my dear.
Yeah. You know what? I'll just describe kind of my own version of this. So it's this thing where I have in my mind what I want to do. Like, let's say I want to regularly sit at my piano and do my practice or something like that. Like there's something that I want to make regular or something like that. I believe in practice. I know that it'll work. And yet I'll watch myself let myself down. And it's this weird thing where there's the me that clearly has come to the decision that this is what I want. And if I meditate on it and I do, questioning like, what do I want in life? It's there. It's undisputable that it's there. But then at the same time, I'm watching myself let myself down. And it's this question of which one of these people am I? Am I the one with all the hopes and the dreams, or am I the one that's kind of doing the letting down? Am I a third person watching these two people have this argument? And then the question is, okay, which one's in charge, and why is it not me? Isn't this my own mind? Why? How do I get into the driver's seat of this car, right? And so that's kind of how I watch it play out in my life. Is this weird? It almost seems like an argument between different parts of myself.
Right on.
And yeah.
Like, I want to do this, or I should be doing this, and I use air quotes for "should" because we should be doing what we want, not what someone tells us that we should do. So I agree. It's almost like you're observing. You're like, I'm eating chocolate or pizza or beer or wings or candy, whatever, and I really don't want to. I really want to, but I really don't want to. I don't actually. Actually want to.
And yet it all goes down, right? Yeah.
Or I really want to make those sales calls. I really want to speak up to my boss, or I want to put some boundaries in place with my clients, or my relationships, your personal relationships, and you don't. And you're, like I said, sometimes you're unaware of it until you're partway through. You're like, I've been on my phone, I've been on YouTube, I've been for like the past 20, 30 minutes. I'm getting nothing done. What the hell is going on? Or sometimes, like you said, you are aware. It's almost that third party perspective, and where you're like looking down at yourself, and it's like, why am I doing this? I'm completely sabotaging? What is going on? Why am I doing this? And I think that's a powerful question to ask, and to continue with that thought, not instead of self-judgment. You're like, oh, I'm so whatever. I'm not doing this, or I'm not doing what I want, or I'm so whatever. Instead of judging yourself, literally say, well, why am I doing this? And ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What are the fears? And really get present with that, and be okay feeling the negative feelings, feeling what's going on down there. Otherwise, you're not gonna resolve it. If you're not okay, if you're just gonna hide and mask those emotions with food or booze or drugs or candy or whatever, sex, drugs, rock and roll, it's something that's very pervasive rather in the world. It's everywhere, and we all do it, right? We all do it. We whether it's food or being on our phone or YouTube videos, we distract ourselves from what we really want to and should be paying attention to, because when we pay attention to it, we're okay being uncomfortable, and okay, what is really going on? Why am I procrastinating? No, I don't believe anyone's lazy. I don't believe anyone's not motivated. I don't believe anyone's not intelligent. Yeah, yeah. It's just, what is that thing that's down there? That fear. Is it a fear of, a failure? Maybe is it a fear of success? Believe it or not, that can happen. Is it a fear of looking bad? Or what if I do this and look bad? Or if it fails, or I fail in front of everyone, or people laugh at me? Or what if I lose a lot of money at this, or time, or whatever, right? Look at that for you, and really look down at what you are fearing that's causing you to self-sabotage, procrastinate, take one step forward, two steps back, or take a few steps and then quit, or give up, or blow it up, literally blow it up. What is that? So I think looking at it is the best advice I can do. Be okay being uncomfortable and honest. Be honest with yourself. Lying to yourself is useless, right? Lying to yourself is, oh no, it's not the right time, or oh, it's too expensive, or I can't afford it, or whatever the excuses and the BS is. Avoid lying to yourself, because you're the only one you can't lie to, right? It really, and so that's my thoughts, and that's what I do to help myself. Like, what am I afraid of, and what is the fear that's coming up? Really be present to that and let that come up, let it bubble up, and that'll really serve you. Be okay being uncomfortable, because it will be uncomfortable. And maybe I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like it's going to be liked, or people, maybe they won't like me if I do this, or maybe will say bad things about me if I put this out there, or put this on YouTube or Facebook, whatever. So anyway, that's my thoughts and perspective. What do you find helps you? Because I completely agree with your thoughts and perspective. What do you think would find helps you get away from that?
Yeah, I think so I'm going to zero in on something, and I actually brought a book that's got some that I'd love to share, because I like finding kind of other seemingly non-related fields that can help explain things, right? So one of the things that comes up a lot for myself, but also for the clients that I work with, is the fear of making mistakes.
Yeah.
And the fear of being seen making mistakes, the feeling of making a mistake, right? It just feels better to be good at things, right? And so I want to share something around mistake making. So one of the things that I work with my clients, and we do this through body work, and it's really great how you can see when you can train your body mind to learn certain skills. These skills are highly transferable to other parts of your life, right?
Right on.
Because we are this embodied being, right?
As T. Harv Eker, multi-millionaire and teacher and coach of millionaires, he says the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. It's humans aren't that complex. So I think you're right. I think you're right. So,
yeah. So this book's fascinating. It's called The Hand, and it's by Frank R. Wilson, and how its use shapes the brain, language, and human culture. And so he is discussing the evolution of the human mind and the way we use our mind through the evolution of the use of our hands, and kind of how those things come together. So he's got this really interesting chapter on where he's talking about skill development, and he's talking with this juggler. So it's this world-class juggler named he's Belgian, and I don't know if I'm going to get the pronunciation right. Serge Perselli. I don't know where they put the emphasis. Perselli. The emphasis on the syllable. And so he's discussing how he developed the skill. Like, how did he become this world-class juggler, right? And then he's juxtaposing this conversation with some information from engineer and scientist Howard Austin, who got his doctoral degree at MIT in electrical engineering and computer science. And he does an analysis of juggling and the whole learning process. So really kind of a cool look into this. So the juggler is talking about his learning process and what took him to the next level. So he was making a lot of mistakes. And at first his practice was try to make no mistakes, right? I'm going to practice doing it perfectly. But what he found was when you finally learn something that way, I make a lot of mistakes. And when you finally learn something that way, i.e. through allowing yourself to make mistakes, you learn you learn it twice as much better than if you would go through it without making mistakes. the mistakes will still come later on. So it turned out to be a very good thing for me, he says. In the beginning, it was very hard, but now it's a good thing for me. So this process of making mistakes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the MIT guy, so the dude here, he gets MIT guy to comment on it, and he says, as preventative medicine, he suggests the student practice a wide range of juggling heights and intermix the heights during a particular run. It should be distinct. It should be distinctly surprising, even to a computational therapist, that getting better at juggling for the most part involves building better and more sophisticated error compensations.
Fair enough.
And so to conclude, he says, so you learn to make mistakes. So the juggler says, you learn to make the mistakes is just another part of what you're doing. So one of the things that we train is, how do you get better at mistake making?
Yeah.
So mistake making is one of your skills. And if you can, and so if it's a considerable weakness, like mistake making just dismantles you, then there's of course also a therapeutic component to that.
Yeah.
That's needed as well. But it's learning how to take this weakness, an inability to allow yourself mistake making, and turn it into a strength. It becomes one of your superpowers.
Yeah.
And if you can get good at mistake making, then that's how you become a super learner. That's how you generate your ability to learn powerfully. And then if you can generate the power to learn, pick what do you want to learn, right? And so so that's a lot of how we address that in our work, is how do you actually become a good mistake maker? How can that actually become a skill?
Well, and you're right, because a lot of the exercises to become unstoppable and be okay, be comfortable with failure, which is really no failure anyways. It's learning. It's amazing how we fall off our bike as kids many times, and we learn. Otherwise, we wouldn't know how to ride a bike. We fall off once and said, "Oh, I'm not going to do it again." Like a lot of in our adult lives, "Oh, that didn't work. Oh, I'm not doing it again." Or we don't even start. Imagine if none of us would ride bikes. If we as kids fell off once and said, "Oh, I made a mistake," or "That's not for me," or "I can't do that." So I think you're right. Having a bit of almost exposure therapy, if you will, in terms of making mistakes, it's one of the best ways to learn and grow, and being okay with that. There's almost a way to get yourself immune to that. And so the way it works is you go out and believe it or not, you intentionally aim to fail. Now, you'll by default likely have some successes by default. So you can go out and aim to fail. Let's say it's walking up to a client at a networking event, or practicing selling, or let's say you're walking up to someone at a bar or something. How you can almost intentionally fail and become comfortable with that. That way, in the future, when you go to do something, instead of self-sabotaging, because again, let's be honest with each other, guys, the self-sabotage happens because either consciously or unconsciously, out of our awareness, we're afraid of something, or afraid of the results or consequences, or what this, if I fail, oh, this means I'm this. It means I'm not. It can reinforce maybe our deepest wounds or beliefs. So like, oh, it means I'm not good enough. If I fail at this, it means I'm not perfect, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart, or whatever, right? And of course, that's going to make us feel like crap. So we self-sabotage, so we don't have to take action, so we don't have to fail, so we don't have to make it mean something. A, I'm not smart, I'm not good enough, or whatever. Oh, I'm going to go broke. And again, that's not true as well. And then from that, the negative emotions stem, and we don't want to feel those emotions. That's why self-sabotage happens in the first place. Yeah. It is that fear almost of the outcomes. And like you said, just being okay with failure, just accepting it, embracing it. It's not a bad thing, because there is no failure anyways. You've learned. The only time you fail, guys, is if you could completely give up. If you give up and say, no, I can't do it, whatever, I've given up, that's the only time you truly, really ever fail. I mean, look at Colonel Sanders, who started KFC. Look at Sir Richard Branson. Many failures with getting banks to loan them money, getting people to help them, support them. Phil Knight of Nike. You know, he had, I think it was 6 or 7 failed businesses before he started Nike. You know, Elon Musk, I think he blew up three rockets, 3 spaceships, and they're on the verge of bankruptcy. Luckily, the fourth one worked because they had learned something before. I mean, you know, even Netflix, the company that owns Netflix, had all these failed businesses and ventures before Netflix, and now it's safe to say they're pretty successful, right? So, you know, we often see these successful people and think, wow, they became, look at their overnight success, or wow, who's this new guy or who's this new woman that all of a sudden they're super successful. It's not an overnight success. It comes from years of practicing work failures and taking action towards what you want, and being okay with something not working out, and being okay and saying, okay, what did I learn? How am I better? How am I faster? How am I stronger? And I find asking myself, what's at risk? If I'm procrastinating, clearly, what is at risk? Is it my happiness, my fulfillment? Is it my purpose and mission in life, serving people, right? What is at risk here? I'll tell a quick story, and then I'll turn it back to you to tie us out here, Vanessa. When the first time I went to write my book, I was at a book writing seminar. And at the end of the seminar, they said, okay, we've taught you all these great things. Who's ready to write a book? Put up your hand and come to the back of the room and sign up. Let's do this. And I said, I am ready. I'm going to do this thing. I want to write the book. So I got up, walked to the back of the room. And as I was closing in on the table where you would sign up, I did a 180, turned around, went back, and sat down in my seat, and nothing happened. And I'm like, I felt so crappy. And the next book writing seminar happened. I took it, and they're like, who's in, who's with us? And I got up, and I literally ran, I beelined it, I was running to the back of the room, and I said, here's my credit card, sign me up, I'm in, because I knew I might talk myself out of it, right? And often we have to do that. We just take action rather, because fear cannot live in action. And, you know, the 3-second rule that I always tell people, take action 3 seconds. Otherwise, you may talk yourself out of it. Mel Robbins talks about the 5-second rule, whatever works for you. Whatever you got to do something, take action before you talk yourself out of it. And that's the real key, guys, is be okay with failure. Get used to it. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and take action before you talk yourself out of it. There's no more, I got to think about it. Use your intuition. Right? Use your intuition, and maybe we'll have to do a separate video, because we're getting onto time here, about how to listen to intuition, how to follow intuition. What is intuition? What is fear? Because people are like, oh, I don't feel ready, or I don't feel right, or it's not the right time, or I don't think it's right for me. And no, that's your fear talking in your head, not the intuition in your body talking. So that's what I had. Any thoughts in the last couple of minutes, Vanessa? You know, avoiding pushing through, just pushing through this fear and doing it no matter what. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's about being able to name that fear. I think one of the things that I hear that I think really gets in people's way is when they say, don't be afraid, and they try and tell the fear that it doesn't exist. And that's not even what's happening. And fear is one of our most fundamental alarm systems. It's been developed in us over millennia. It's not going anywhere.
It keeps us alive, or at least the past.
Yeah. So I think the question is about, when you feel it, being able to name it, and then starting to articulate what is it. Like you talked about fear of success. That is a thing. So it's asking about, in that moment, okay, I feel afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel afraid, and letting yourself actually feel that feeling, instead of denying it, and instead of trying to tell it don't exist, and letting it inform you. What's this fear about? Is it the fear about making mistakes? Because that's gonna take you through a different process than if it's fear of success, like fear of, I don't know that I'm going to be able to handle all of the responsibilities that I'm going to have when I'm more successful.
Will I pay more tax? We'll have to give it all away in tax, or whatever the fear is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's an entirely different process. So if you can even just start to name the fear, don't tell it to not exist. Can you get a little deeper into what the fear is? Because that's going to guide your next steps of, now, how do I address specifically this fear, my fear? And I think it's about getting to know that more deeply.
I would agree, because fear, abstract fear it grips us. It's powerful when we make it concrete. Oh, I'm worried if no one's going to like my YouTube. Who cares? And no one's going to like this. Who cares? At least I've done it. I've taken action. Exactly. Abstract fear, guys, is the worst. Get concrete. Get really specific. What are you fearing? What are you afraid of? And that will weaken its power. I'm James Robert Elliott. This is Vanessa Bell. Have a great day.